now he's going to go in right as the +1 finishes. These guys on equal upgrades.
Taking down all the end.
And maybe he's gonna get the queen, maybe some more drones. Two are falling right there. He's got the perfect position. GG.
All right, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters day number 3 here as we are into the semi-finals now. I'm ready for the Chinese hype train in our lovely, lovely host here as we are about to introduce uThermal and viOLet to the stage.
I thought you were going to go full Chinese on us here. And not do any English anymore, careless.
Thanks, man, thanks.
It's actually on the main stage and simultaneously translating live for the English stream.
Yeah, man.
Give it up for
How does he
Clarence.
do it?
Thanks, but I don't know.
That deserves at least 2 appreciation threads.
Ever since I branched out, I've just become a new man, as it were.
Very impressive.
Thanks.
We've got a really cool matchup coming up here. viOLet against uThermal, who was praying backstage that viOLet would beat Nurture.
Yeah, he was.
And pretty happy with this result. Now he goes up against a Zerg that I'm sure he considers to be a much easier matchup, but who shouldn't be underestimated. viOLet is really, really good.
I mean, we just saw it. He proved it in front of everybody. He
Yeah.
3-2 Nurtio, the guy who was, you know, a very big contender to take this entire thing. He was, you know, touted as the best foreigner so far. Everybody was really saying he's one of the big favorites, and viOLet's like, no, I'm just going to beat him in a ZVZ. And now he puts himself in a great spot here against uThermal, who also, you know, defeated Snoot 3-0
Yep.
and
Laser.
made a bunch of upsets himself.
The thing is, though, is that obviously viOLet has a lot of material already from this tournament to go off when it comes to looking at how uThermal may approach this matchup. I want to ask you on the flip side, Nathanias, how does viOLet now approach this knowing all of these things?
The biggest thing to keep in mind is that viOLet mentioned earlier in his interview, and he won the last round, that he actually is comfortable with cheesing himself. This is a very important thing to keep in mind because you don't expect Snoot to open fast pool, and you don't expect Laser to do that either. So if you are uThermal, you can comfortably do these builds. If you try to do something like Proxy Reaper or Proxy Marine, and viOLet's doing some sort of one-base speedling rush, and he catches you when you've only got 1 or 2, like you could just lose the game instantly. Like going for these aggressive cheese builds without scouting yourself can actually put you at a disadvantage because a lot of those early Zerg aggressive builds can deal very well with Terran cheese.
But I think all alike, uThermal might be one of those Terrans who's ready to roll the dice and take the risk. Yeah, I don't think he will go extra defensive because of that. I think he embraces, you know, the gamble side of StarCraft, and we maybe see him doing some risky builds himself. I spoke with him about his builds. He told me he already used a lot of them. But yes, I was like telling him, you have so many anyway, it really doesn't matter, right? You can pretty much do anything. He was like, yeah, I will see from map to map, you know, what I think is best. And if you're viOLet here, I feel like you're the one who kind of, you know, has to put some extra effort into the scouting to see what you're up against.
Is it something that's scary for the Zerg going into this series, Brendan? Because when you're having to go up against a Terran that is like uThermal, when he has these wild variances in going for an extreme cheese or being a very, very strong macro player, if you overcommit to something like a cheese, you're going to put yourself at a disadvantage even if he doesn't actually do it.
I mean, of course it's scary. Going up against any player who can just turn it on the flip of, you know, on a coin, essentially, is like, one time I'm just going to cheese you out.
Yeah.
You're never going to see the light of day after 5 minutes. Next time I'll just play it super defensive. I think it's really going to come down to the maps and how these players like read, you know, your opponents. Is he going to cheese on this map? Because I think we're definitely going to be seeing some cheeses in this series for sure.
The biggest thing that comes out of all of this is the fact that we're talking about it, right? viOLet has to consider this now. It's something that he has to anticipate every single game. At the start, it's going to go through his mind at some point and be like, okay, well, If he was going to cheese me, at least where would he put it? Where do I send my Overlord? Like, obviously you don't want to drone scout and then be like, oh, he didn't even cheese me, right? So does he still make that risk and then throw away a potential little bit of early economy? There's so many different ways that I feel this can, benefit or work against uThermal, in a cool way.
Look at Nathaniel's getting all confident and stuff. Is it because North America is doing so well, and for the first time since Austin,
feels good, man.
we could be having North America versus North America in the finals?
I'm the happiest I could be here, man. Everyone thinks I'm biased for Terran. I just want Neeb to win the whole damn thing.
I was going to say, you win either way now that I think about it. Neeb's in the finals, and then you've got your Terran and uThermal.
Oh, yeah.
Then viOLet's there, who is basically an adopted American.
He's going to be
now.
my gym buddy now that he moved by me, so it's all good. He's gonna whip me into shape.
All right.
I don't know about that one.
We'll try.
That's good stuff. All right, so looking at this as it's going to go down, obviously the maps will be coming in just a minute between these two players. But I want to kind of look at how uThermal's going to approach it. So we've talked about SGs, we've talked about that a lot, but he's still able to hold his own in the long macro games. We saw it against Snoot in game number 2, even going up against a Laser in some of those games. He was still pushing it to the very brink. So what makes uThermal so good, even in those situations? Does he have the right multitasking? How does he approach it, Nathaniel?
I think a big thing that helps that is the lack of stress going into a tournament like this, because we talked about it. He was a replacement. He came in with pretty low expectations, and because of that, it's just kind of been like, well, you don't have that stress. You're not coming into it like I spent everything preparing for this tournament. It's more like, okay, now I'm doing this tournament that I wasn't really planning on. So I feel like the focus isn't as big there for him. The pressure to succeed.
Yeah. WCS points-wise, actually, uThermal was very low. Going to this tournament, he's even said in his interview that he wasn't even on his mind, the global finals. This guy look like the kind of guy who gives too many damns anyway.
Yeah, but
viOLet on the other side, he wants more points. He needs more points to make, I guess, to make sure he can go to the global finals. And even with the victory here, he might be still in danger. So
I agree with you guys, but at the same time, I feel like this is where it gets really serious. Round of 16 is like, we'll see what happens, right? And he 3-0 Snoot. Then he goes up against a Laser round of 8. He's like, we're getting a little bit serious, but whatever, it's round of 8. Still, pretty comfortable. Now it's semifinals. We're getting down to the wire. He has a real chance to actually make it into the finals. He got the role that viOLet wins over Nerchio. He doesn't have to play that crazy Zerg and Nerchio. Now he's like, whoa, I could actually do this. I could go to the finals.
I agree.
And if he wins, that's a huge amount of points, and he's definitely in the running for BlizzCon at that point.
Exactly. I think also he will be attending WCS Summer, I believe.
This really lights a fire under him, I think. It's put him in this position where, just like Todd said, he went from not really being concerned with a possibility of global playoffs to now, if he wins this, well, he's one step away from getting enough points to really be a big contender for that.
And also, if uThermal wins this match here, he goes up against Neeb, which sure is not an easy matchup, but back in Valencia not too long ago, Marinelord 3-0 Neeb. So uThermal's also a very strong European Terran. Why not?
And Neeb said it himself. He feels the PVT is a bit of the weak spot in tournaments.
The dream's alive.
He mentioned it just before, so maybe we could even see a Terran champion if uThermal is able to get through this current roadblock in viOLet. As you were mentioning, the points are very important. uThermal currently sat at 1,230. If he starts bagging those points, we mentioned that he will be at WCS Summer as well. So maybe the runs can continue for him. It could be the dream story here, Todd.
Yeah, the Cinderella story, man. Every year there has to be a couple guys who are on the brink. And every time it's a really sad story when they don't make it, but for the few that squeeze in as last, it's the dream. And it could be uThermal this year. He could very well bomb out as well here of the tournament. I guess it's going to be up to him to try and make that happen, right?
I think going off the original Terran lineup that we had for this Intel Extreme Masters, a lot of people were concerned. It's like, oh man, we've only got 2, and then Major can't make it. But uThermal really stepped up to the plate, and I think people that are just watching the tournament have enjoyed being able to see such a wide variety of matchups.
Yeah, he's really saved your Terran bacon.
I would say so. Makes me a little more relevant here.
Well, thank you for being here, Nathaniel. We appreciate it all the same. All right, so we are almost good to go here for this best of 5. There's a lot on the line between these two, as viOLet wants to push himself to his second Intel Extreme Masters title if he's able to make the final and make the win itself. Or uThermal coming in as a replacement, going all the way. Can he do it? I'm going to send you over to the casters for this one. It's going to be Funker and Pig.
Thank you, James, and the boys on the bench for the analysis over there. We do have an awesome ZVT coming up. Of course, the Terran Hope of Shanghai. going up against the surprise Zerg. No one expected to see in the round of 4, but he's making a comeback. It's viOLet, and it's going to be a sick game. Hey, Funko.
Yes, it will be a sick game. At least I hope that the best of 5 is going to give us amazing memories, and really looking forward this one. We are starting on Frost, and in the top left for Terran, but also for the Netherlands, it is uThermal.
It's been looking good, powering up throughout the tournament. Before he gets any further, he has to go through here. It is the Korean Zerg player, viOLet. It's just been getting better and really surprising with that huge result last round, taking out Merchio in a very tight 3-2 victory.
Yeah, exactly. Both of them, they feel like they were not supposed to be there. They were not supposed to be in the semifinals. We have the vetoes, and this time that's something that I understand a little bit more. Even though that's uThermal that vetoed it, Dassin Station is out.
Yeah, you know, New Gettysburg vetoed by viOLet. Interesting, doesn't want to play on the really big defensive map. And, you know, you look at Snoot, you look at Alazer, they're definitely not vetoing Gettysburg, but viOLet's a very different strain of Zerg. This is not the same old ZVT we're going to be seeing. viOLet's a much more aggressive player, much more dynamic, and I mean, seriously, like, he used to be the guy who'd just, like, scout something and immediately just start making roaches and banelings. Like, that was his Wings of Liberty career in a nutshell. It's like, I'm going to kill you now. But, you know, it's a different story in Legacy. There's more options. There's more craziness you can throw out.
You know, actually, on what you just said about viOLet, in France, we used to call the Roachling Baneling all-in a viOLet push. That's what we used to say, and I actually told him a couple years ago that we used to call that. I was like, I'm not the inventor of this, but, you know, whatever, I'm going to take the credit anyways. So, yeah, definitely a really aggressive series, which makes me want to ask you, is the vertical spawns actually something that viOLet would rather have than a cross position on Frost?
You know, because it's viOLet and he's so aggressive, I think he might prefer this to, you know, to the cross spawn. It's a little tough to say. He did scout cross map with his drone, but then his Overlord actually spotted the natural of uThermal, so he kind of sent that drone home. Meanwhile, uThermal not going for the SCV scout. His Reaper has actually had to scout 2 empty bases, so it's going to scout viOLet last of all, but he doesn't really mind too much. There's no all-in coming. There's very few aggressive Zerg openings that hit this early. So uThermal's just going to head on there over the Reaper. And behind that, he's going for what we call the 2-1-1. 2 barracks, 1 factory into a starport. And it's all based around hitting a very fast double medevac drop with that stem upgrade.
Exactly. You want to, once again, put the Zerg player in a situation where he has to defend, and he has to defend all the time. When the 2 first medivacs actually reach the creep, you want him to be defending all the time, and you want to dictate the path of the game. The question is, will uThermal go for the double eBay like he showed before, or actually go for the 3rd CC afterwards?
Yeah, there's quite a few differences in the transition based on player. The Reaper gets a nice little scout there, and for the moment does get out. And viOLet still hasn't dropped a 3rd base. Now with his Zergling speed finishing, no doubt he will be pushing out for that. He has managed to hunt down that Reaper, just almost. The Reaper buying a lot of time, actually starting to regenerate here.
Can he save it?
And
he actually will.
Oh, wow. This Reaper's just being so annoying. This is just delaying viOLet, getting his Zerglings over to confirm what's happening. Keep in mind, in these spawns, it's very hard for viOLet to sacrifice in an Overlord. He doesn't really have any information about what's going on behind this. So, you know, viOLet in the dark for now, and that's a bit scary because this push, when it does hit in about a minute's time, it hits hard.
It is. It does. It really does. So the 3rd base is actually going down right now, and the lair, that is pretty early, I would say. It will go with the Roach Warren and the Evo Chamber afterwards, adding on 5 drones. But as you mentioned, 5 minutes is the time that this drop is about to hit, and it will deal some damage if you don't build units. Right now, we could see uThermal trying to hide the amount of Marines that he has.
Yeah, viOLet's got to be ticked off by that, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, he saw a pretty high Marine count, but he isn't building units. This is really bad. If he doesn't start pumping out units right now, like, he's got no lava. The drop's already on the way. Okay. It's a little bit faster than normal. It isn't completely filled with 2 medevacs, but it doesn't matter. It's hitting so fast. And right now, there is a grand total of 6 Zerglings on the map for Violet. That's all he's got. The Spore isn't even finished yet. He's got some Roaches in production, but I think it's a little bit late.
Yeah, it's not going to go well for Violet on this one. The Roach Warren was a little bit late, and yeah, you mentioned the Spore that is actually going to help. And for some reason, uThermal is going to go back towards the creep and maybe, yeah, use that scan and get a hold of this.
I think a little bit too much respect there, uThermal, you know, giving to Violet. He didn't realize that Violet was actually so greedy, had almost no units out, and of course, fearing those 8-range queens. No doubt he's been scarred by them with the Spore finishing up as well. He said, look, I don't want the medevacs to die. It's more important for me to keep them alive and maintain this pressure. You can see the creep here getting shoved back. If he can just keep these Marines alive, then it's very powerful for just keeping Violet on that back foot and slowing everything down.
Yeah, that's actually the name of the game in ZVT. You need to control the creep and avoid it to be out of control in general. So we can see the defense coming up, and third CC first into double eBay. Okay, that push is actually interesting. Last time he tried it against Snoots, it didn't work so well. He lost all the medevacs due to a really high queen count. But that's not the case in this game. Only 4 for Violet.
Yeah, really heavy Roach count though. I think Violet only on 49 drones. He's got Roach speed and just +1 carapace lining up very soon. I think he might actually be planning to do a huge push with this. If he can catch a lot of these Marines or siege tanks, it's going to be great for Violet. The Roach flank coming in from the north side. The Roaches on the south engaging at the same time. The tanks have been picked up, but those Marines are left out on their own in the open. They need to sprint out of there, having to use Stim to run away. They're not going to have any real healing, but
nice
great
positioning.
tank.
Nice positioning on the tank. Really anticipating the trajectory of those Roaches. Oh, he needs to save the second one. And already, uThermal really pushing this really far and killing a lot of Roaches, which is really nice. He lost only Marines, but killed a really high amount of Roaches.
Yeah, I think Violet got a little bit overeager to chase that down there, really just saying, nah, I think I can hunt you down, but uThermal used the terrain to his advantage, and now he's got that full macro transition in swing. His 1-1 upgrades are on the way. His third CC is floating down towards this frontal base to secure it. And I'd say both players are kind of stabilizing right now, and it just comes down to, you know, does Violet head for Hive from here? He doesn't have an infestation, by the way, or is he going for a mass Roach Ravager play?
Yeah, considering the positioning, that's something that could be that could be possible from Violet. Already 2 other medivacs going throughout the natural right here, but the Spore is still on place, and he's gonna, actually he's not gonna respect that and drop the Marines anyways. Tries to get a couple of drones. So far he's not getting it, and whoa, that was a close call on this one with the corrosive bile, just barely missing those medivacs.
Really nice Overlord creep drop here from Violet, doing little things to get ahead and starting to work his way into those melee upgrades, along with a lot of Zergling production and a very healthy 3-base economy here for Violet. But as he goes for a 4th base, that's where things get quite uncomfortable for Zerg. In these spawns, where do you secure that 4th base? If you expand towards the Terran, they can push you so easily, but if you expand away, it's just so hard to defend from those drops. So Violet has a big decision to make. Does he just mass units and go for a big attack? Does he try to go all out? Or is he going to try to tech on upwards? And we see he's going for the further away 4th base and the infestation bit. Looks like Violet wants to play a longer game.
Yeah, exactly. And as you can see, he's actually going for the melee upgrade. So probably setting up for a Ultralist transition on this one. Also going to go for a drop overload on the top right. So he has a setup for a counter attack, but also a drop to the main. So if he manages to do that all at the same time, that could actually throw uThermal out of position. Those double drops, are they going to the 4th base? Is he making an assumption that the 4th base is here? It's getting scouted by the Roaches and Lings in the middle of the map, but the drop is already setting up in the main from Violet.
The best defense is a good offense, that's what they say, and Violet, rather than going back to defend those drops, is going all out with his aggression. The Zerglings and Roaches coming up. So far, the tank lot drops have been good, saving those siege tanks. The drop starting to hit here for uThermal at the same time. The Zerglings in the main causing a bit of chaos for him, and it looks like Violet forcing the evacuation of the 3rd, but at the same time, uThermal's doing the same to him.
Yeah, I love the position from uThermal. Right now, he can, leave this 3rd CC and save the SCVs, and if he can get that 3rd hatch, that's such a huge pickup. But he's gonna lose the medivac. Oh my God, 10 supply just falling right there. But that's, you know, understandable considering he has to defend on 2 different fronts, and he has to be impeccable on his tech evac micro.
And keep in mind, we saw uThermal come back from a really hard start in a similar position against Snoot. This time around, things have gone a bit better his way. Right now, Violet's being forced to send drones all the way over to that exposed 4th base, and uThermal's tank count is getting insane. Right now, he is up to 8 siege tanks. He's building them 2 at a time. Like, once he gets to 10 siege tanks, Roach Ravager is not what you want against that.
Yeah, for sure, and I'm not even sure that he wants to push this way. I mean, he's not achieving anything right there. He's just losing his bleeding Roaches and Ravagers right there. Not killing a single tank. That third base is actually losing a little bit of SCVs, but that's not even a huge issue for uThermal with its triple mule and the 2-2. That's the only thing that could be a little bit better for uThermal. He had the Armory with the perfect timing, but he forgot his upgrade right now. But he's still in a really decent position considering the tank count that he has.
uThermal looking strong so far, and only now is Pathogen Glands coming into play. Infestors being finished up very quickly. Hive is almost finished as well. There's still quite a large window before those Ultras come out. And we've seen uThermal loves to hit just as the Ultras are popping when Chitinous Plating isn't done. And the siege tanks, the count is just crazy. There's 10 siege tanks, 2 more about to finish. I think he's going to have 2-2 before Chitinous Plating hits. And, I mean, as viOLet right now, you just need to try and lock down your defense. You need to stay solid, and you somehow need to buy time when this push comes, because you cannot engage that many siege tanks in a straight-up engagement.
No way. We've seen how it went for Snoot, even though he had a slightly better army than what viOLet has is in this game. It's going to go with those double drops in the bottom right. They've been fended off by a well-placed queen, but that doesn't change the situation. If uThermal has an opportunity to push, and that's what he's doing right now on the left flank, he's going to hit way before Ultralisk with Chitinous Plating are going to be on the field.
Yeah, this is good from viOLet. He's got to push forward to buy time. Actually gets on top of the siege tanks while they're still sieging. Takes out 1, 2, 3 siege tanks. Oh my god, 5 siege tanks go down. A huge pickup there for viOLet. His Roach is holding strong on the right-hand side. They are still defending that base. And this, oh my gosh, all the Marines ran forward as well and engaged outside of the siege tanks. A huge blunder here from uThermal, and viOLet pouncing on top of opportunity, shutting down uThermal at every turn and suddenly buying that time that he needed.
Yeah, uThermal right there, not making the right decision in my opinion, right? He lost a lot of tanks, as you mentioned, and that double drop in the bottom right using 2 medivacs, which means that all those tanks weren't in medivacs, and that's the reason he got destroyed with the link flood. So right now we can see Chitinous Plating probably about 40 seconds away from finishing, and that's going to be a whole different situation for uThermal once those Ultralisk hit the field.
uThermal was pretty much all in on this timing. I mean, I hate to call it. I'm definitely not calling it, but uThermal's in a terrible position.
Yes.
His 4th command center has not taken, the base just yet. He's still trying to buy time with these drops. They're doing what they can, but he's somehow got to buy time. He has not started Liberator production. He has not started Ghost production. He does have a Ghost Academy finished, but without any of those units and these Ultras already almost popping, uThermal is in a very difficult position. He's sending off more drops. He's got to try and buy that time. But viOLet right now, he's got a huge window to do damage.
Yeah, he does. And that double drop going on to the right, you could feel probably that uThermal is maybe a little bit under pressure, because those 2 drops, they are not even full. It's like 10 Marines just getting dropped instead of 16. Right now, that Zergling rush wasn't too difficult to hold for uThermal, just teaming in some Marines. But look at this army, man. Lots of Ravagers, and those Ultralisk already having 6 armor and soon to be 7.
The thing is, he wants to be engaging right now, but uThermal, he's showing that resilience he's already been showing in the earlier series today, just constantly dropping to buy time when he needs to. This drop doing massive damage. Meanwhile, a drop in the main base being super annoying. The Queen is going to start sniping down those medevacs. Putting a bit of a timer on this, but good focus fire from uThermal. Snipes out the Queen, picks up the medevac, and boosts on out of there. Meanwhile, the bottom right-hand side, though, it is shut down by viOLet. Only 1 Marine escaping, but he's bought time.
Ooh.
He's got Ghost in that production tab.
Ooh, that was so close on this one. Once again, that medevac not gonna fall thanks to the sacrifice of those 2 Marines.
Oh, this is so clever. I love this. He's going to go drop on that ledge above the 4th base in the bottom right. That siege tank is going to be so annoying. Really clever harassment here from uThermal, but at home, what's he got? A very low Marauder count, a single Marauder. He's building him 3 at a time now, getting concussive shells, getting +3 attack on the way. He's got 5 ghosts out, and that really is the linchpin of uThermal's defense. He's going to be relying on those snipes, maybe some EMPs on the Infestors as well, but with more Ultralisks than there are ghosts, it's going to be a very tough ask. It's all going to be about positioning SimCity and these siege tanks. uThermal, oh my gosh, there's a huge army that's moving up into position. He's got a tank down there doing pressure, but right now, viOLet is hungry. He wants to go in for the fight.
Alright, he's going to go for it. Those ghosts on the ledge, actually dealing a lot of damage. That first Ultra is getting destroyed, but that fourth base is already down. He needs to stim a little bit of those Marines, maybe push them away a little bit, but for now, I don't think that viOLet wants to go for it because the positioning of uThermal is actually pretty good. And once again, a drop, denying the feedback.
viOLet's going in again, though. He's going to go for the engage. Great Fungals looking down these siege tanks. Corrosive Bile comboing. The Ultras just launching their way through. There is not any energy left on these Ghosts. All the snipes have been used up, and the last couple of Ultralisks are just pounding their way through this Bio Force. The Bio's just not doing any damage. There's not enough Marauders here. Finally, the last Ultralisk is cleaned up, and actually, these Infestors starting to go down. viOLet's actually maybe pushed in a little bit too deep, just barely hanging on by a thread is uThermal, but he's lost all of the mining up here on the third. The fourth base did go down for him. His economy's in a dire position.
Yeah, he's actually lifting the first CC right now to pick up that position on the fourth base once again. But as you mentioned, he lost a lot of economy on this one. Didn't lose that many Ghosts, I would say. I'm not really sure. He still has 5, and he's still producing them. So if he's...
Oh, in the middle of the map! Oh my gosh, just barely dodging a Corrosive Bile at the last second. Sorry. Getting a little bit excited there. But this drop down here, this is the important thing. Remember, we talked about this earlier. If he can keep doing damage down there, like viOLet's struggling himself. He's not able to get a 5th base up. He's struggling to secure the 4th, and these drops continue to buy time, and that is what uThermal needs. He needs to get more Ghosts up. He needs more Bio. He's definitely down. He's in a hard position, but if he can buy enough time, this might work out.
Dropping a Ghost. Even dropping a Ghost in this game, but I'm pretty sure it just, filled up with whatever was there because he knows he has to make something happen. And he needs to be able to do that just by dropping because there is no way that he can cross the map and try to attack in this position.
Damage in the bottom right while distracting in the main base. He's actually started to kill a bunch of drones there. The Ultralisk, not able to defend from all positions at once, and cute Marine Micro dancing between those minerals, using whatever cover they can find. And uThermal clawing his way back. 42 drones to just 40 SCVs, but with the mules added in there, he's actually mining more resources right now. If uThermal can stabilize on this income for a little bit longer, then he can definitely get back in this game.
What about Liberators in this game? Well, how do you feel about them? Like, do you think he really needs to add them to his composition to be able to win this game, or can he just do it with Bio and Ghost?
There's still Ravagers in there. Ravagers are great against Liberators in small numbers, so I think just sticking with Ghosts for now is what uThermal wants to do. That's his plan. He's coming down here. Those Ghosts are well positioned on the high ground. The moment those Ultras go in, they're going to get wrecked. But it's all about the fungal growth. Great split so far. The Fungals kind of hitting a few units, but not quite hitting everything. A lot of the medevacs are going down. The Snipes going down. But there's just so many Ultras. There's not enough energy on these Ghosts.
Not enough Ghost on this one for uThermal. Has the Ultralisk actually just rushing forward and getting every single bio unit there is. Nice kiting from uThermal, but it seems like it's too little, too late. Maybe not gonna go into the main because that's the way you lose a game as a Zerg player, trying to finish a Terran player behind the wall. But he can get every single base that are still mining for uThermal. So viOLet just, taking it slow and probably winning the game after this engagement.
The threat of that fungal is forcing uThermal to be very careful with shutting this down. As a result, those couple of Ravagers cleared up almost every SCV on this 4th base. And now, he comes on down here to engage the Zerg, but Zerglings are rallying in. A fungal did go down before that. More Zerglings coming around from behind, as well as more Ultralisks. And it looks like viOLet has just barely found his timing. He's engaged just before uThermal had the answer.
Ooh, look at the relief. Look at the relief on this guy, viOLet, right there, just playing a really, really good game. And probably, I would say, uThermal maybe missing his timing and probably his execution a little bit with those tanks on the left flank. He had 10 of them, as you mentioned, and wasn't able to push them to their full potential.
Yeah, his bio army was maybe a little bit too small there as well.
Yeah.
I was emphasizing the tanks so much, but when they don't have such a large amount of bio support, you can't really push in as quickly, right? But definitely losing 5 siege tanks there in the blink of an eye, really tough one for Mark. He fought back very well.
He did.
Those drops on the bottom right, there was a few times viOLet sent Zerglings to clean them up, and because uThermal was dealing with fights in 2 or 3 other positions, he missed picking up the tank or he missed picking up the Marines. So definitely, just 1 or 2 small things. If he could step up his multitasking that slight notch, suddenly viOLet may have had a much harder time there. And I mean, he was already pushed to the very limit as it was.
For once, uThermal did not start that series with the cheese, you know. For once, not a proxy strategy on the first game, and he's losing that game for the first time once again in ZVT, and I'm wondering about his mental status right now. Is he feeling still comfortable, or okay? I see him laugh a little bit.
He's got a little bit of banter going out. He says, "Hey, if you casters want some new memes, feels cyan, man. That's the new feels good, man. It's feels cyan, man." And feels red, man, feels bad, man. You know, in the red booth right now, he's having a little bit of a tough time.
Yeah, he didn't want the red color, actually. He was kind of mad about it when the admin told him that he had to take the red color. So yeah, feels red, man, means feels bad, man.
I really do love, you know, when players get really obsessive about their color in competitive games. They get told, no, you've got to be red or you've got to be blue. It's always a little bit of a clash.
Remember Stefano? I had to wait like a couple of minutes for him to change colors before I could, you know, stop the game back in the days of WCS Europe in 2013. So I know everything you know about that. I really agree with that. We'll see about that second game, this time on Galactic Process.
Yeah, viOLet looking exceptionally focused here as we are about to go into that map number 1. Of course, we've already seen the Zerg player take a 1-0 lead here against the Dutch Terran. And we will dive into that game right now.
So will he go for another aggressive strategy on this one? That's the one he showed our triple racks Reaper in the main last time.
All right, the game is now underway. The guy's getting ready for it. So here we go, our Dutch Terran player in the top right-hand side of Galactic Process. A tough game 1, but some promising skills. It is uThermal. Representing AT Gaming, Dutch team. It's been supporting him very well over the years.
Yeah, never changed actually. And in the bottom left for Korea, but also for Team Envious as the Zerg is viOLet.
I really like seeing viOLet succeed as he has so far in this tournament. I think it's a new viOLet, it's a resurgence. You know, I don't want to get too excited and say he's suddenly going to win everything, especially because right now he just drone scouted. Hey, this makes perfect sense.
Yes.
You're playing uThermal, you're going to drone scout. He's done it 2 games in a row, and it really does pay off this game. What's interesting is because his Overlord scouted uThermal never realized that viOLet actually drone scouted in that previous game because the drone just went straight home after scouting cross map. As a result, you know, uThermal had no information that viOLet was playing this safe, and now suddenly he's done 3x Reaper, but it's been scouted immediately. And this time, viOLet, no doubt, has a build in mind. He has a reaction in mind. And what we really need to look for is, does he go heavy Queens, heavy Zerglings, or does he go for those Roaches and Ravagers, which really have not worked out for the other Zerg players in this tournament?
Yeah, they did not. Like, for instance, that game a little bit before was really, really hard on our Zerg player because he went for that Roach Ravager defense. But once again, viOLet going for the Roach Warren. So 6 Zerglings, 2 Queens, and a quick Roach Warren on this one. Okay, that first Reaper, that was a little scary. Like, if you lose your first Reaper when you do a 3 racks Reaper, that's something that can make you tilt a little bit.
You know, there's certain players that just leave the game after that. Sometimes it's a huge loss, but does get away with that for now. And uThermal is starting to come in with the pressure. Of course, this is very different to a Laser and Snoot's reaction because he dropped the Roach Warren almost immediately when that spawning pool finished up. This is going to be much faster Roaches and no doubt making Ravagers with their superior range and movement speed as quickly as possible. He really wants to get on top of this and shut this down quickly. And likewise, uThermal recognizes this. He's already dropping a command center behind this. He knows he's not going to get a lot of direct damage done, so he's actually hoping for the over response here from viOLet.
Yeah, not even going for his speed, actually, viOLet, that is. So I think a really good reaction for now, but that doesn't mean by any means that uThermal is out of this game, because if there's a guy that did that a lot in ladder, that's probably uThermal, because that's one of his favorite strategies. That's something he can have every single transition noted in his head. You know, he knows everything about it. So now the question is, what does he do with the Reaper? Does he try to play just, you know, conservatively and not try to go into the main? Because the main is totally open right now and he's going to go for it. But the question is, what is he going to do with it for now? Controlling the ramp, and I really like it.
He's got to be very careful. Those Ravagers have the ability to basically 3-shot or 4-shot the Reapers, kill them very suddenly. There we go, using that ramp. The Zerg units get clumped up. They can't dodge the bombs. The focus fire is good One Ravager goes down, and that's very important. That's half of the 5 or 6 range Ravagers. Damage output just halved. Suddenly, there we go. We can take more trades. He's only lost 1 Reaper so far. He's doing a very good job. And keep in mind, he's transitioning much faster behind this than he did in the previous games.
Yeah, for sure. We can see the factory in the prediction tab and even the tech lab. That's why he was building only 2 Reapers for now. Tech lab that will be researching stim packs. For sure, that was anticipated. The second CC turning into an orbital right now. And for now, just uThermal taking it slow. He actually got pretty decent damage out of those Reapers, no economy whatsoever, but he got a Ravager out of it, and he actually made viOLet. Just, you know, he had to have an answer to this, and this answer are those Roach and Ravagers that, for now, can't really cross the map, and there's still no third base, too.
uThermal definitely in the driver's seat in this game, only down a couple of workers with the mules, plus the map control that these Reapers afford. I mean, this is just looking so solid. uThermal's execution has been so good, and once again, another Roach kill. More Reaper bombs going down. These Roaches are taking so much damage. 1 Reaper does go down. Oh, and 1 more Reaper goes down. Okay, viOLet finally getting a bit of damage done, finally cutting into that damage output, and starting to drone up quite hard behind it. But viOLet definitely feels the pressure. He needs to secure a third base, and he needs to do it soon.
Yeah, that's a major issue for viOLet right now. Not having a third base in that kind of situation.
Oh, and it gets sniped down as well. That's going to be at least another 30 seconds before that hatchery goes down. You know, viOLet here just trying to defend with these immobile units, but uThermal never overcommitting, just constantly bouncing between locations, and he's not giving him the opportunity for those Ravagers to get that value.
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, he has the transition and even the decision-making that goes with it. Against that kind of situation, that kind of army composition from the Zerg, what you want to do is avoid the Zerg to get a third hatch and actually try to, abuse him a little bit around the ramp. That's what he did, and he did it perfectly. The question is the transition from viOLet. A lot more Roaches, gonna go into the speed link, but on the Terran side, those 2 medivacs are already out. He's gonna have the stim. Can he get the third hatch?
Yeah, I mean, there's some good creep spread working its way across the map to help defend for viOLet, but his units, they're just not well upgraded right now. He's definitely going to be responding just with the Roach Ravager, and I don't think uThermal can kill him, but he definitely has the mobility edge with this drop. He can be very annoying. We actually see a huge amount of Zerglings in production here for viOLet, as well as that fast carapace upgrade. Really wanting to get all that down, but these Marines dropping down here, the Roaches and Ravagers way out of position. Those Queens are isolated in the open. The Marines still on top of them, and goodbye, Queens. All 3 Queens are going to be focused down here, and there goes your anti-air viOLet. Suddenly down to just 2 Queens, not even able to inject all 3 hatcheries. These Marines getting massive value, picking up and just diving into the main base.
Amazing pickup from uThermal, not getting the third hatch, but all 3 Queens, a couple of Zerglings, more Queen in the main, maybe some economy at some point. For now, that's not the case. He's gonna go for a Ravager, juicy Ravager that is so expensive to the Zerg player, but uThermal at the same time going for a third CC on location. He's playing an amazing game. Considering he was scouted really early into this game with a drone from viOLet, I think what uThermal is doing right now is just nothing short but amazing.
Amazing gaming. That's what we're seeing right now. The Dutch Terran is just, he's so damn good with this opening, and Zerg after Zerg is falling to it. I'm sure there's some Zergs out there watching, just scratching their heads thinking, what the hell? How are so many of these professional Zerg players falling to this? But really, it's just such a fast-paced style, and it's something that's so hard to get practice against someone executing it on the level that uThermal is doing it. He's just so careful and precise, but then at the same time, the moment he sees weakness, he is pouncing on top of it. And right now, he's keeping them on very even work accounts. In fact, actually up a few workers with the added mule mining and the double upgrades compared to the single upgrades of viOLet. uThermal is ahead in absolutely every category right now.
Yeah, he's playing a really great game. I actually forgot his shield upgrades for the Marines, but other than that, like, there is no mistake whatsoever that has been done from uThermal, just being everywhere at once, getting that overload for free. And right now we can see a viOLet that doesn't really know what he has to do. He's in the middle of the map with some slow Roaches and a couple of Ravagers, when actually, in my mind, I think uThermal has everything he needs to defend that at the opposite side.
not
map.
scary at all. He's got 3 siege tanks and like 24 Marines at home. If those Roach Ravager commit too deep, they're going to get slaughtered. Meanwhile, Marines getting out of control in the main base. The Roach Ravager's hitting the front wall. Does manage to snipe one eBay, but +1 is already finished. The eBay is going to go down, but uThermal doesn't really care. The
Those
Reapers die.
Reapers, they won't die. They go for another harass, getting some more economy. And on the opposite side of the map, as you said, that push is not scary at all. uThermal just destroying viOLet on this game once again. Same map, same opening, was scouted way earlier. But the adaptation from viOLet wasn't clearly the good one. He's getting just trashed on this game.
uThermal tried to play a very standard game last game, and he said, you know what? It didn't work. Let's build Reapers. Let's get the tempo going, and this is where uThermal thrives, where he can force these action-packed games. Roddy was talking about it before. He was saying, uThermal, he just shows his colors when he gets a chance to micro lots and lots of engagements. When you get to just keep on fighting like this, we see uThermal constantly bullying the Zerg around, and viOLet right now is having such a hard time keeping up with everything. He's down 30 supply, down in upgrades. He's in a very dire position.
Yeah, resources lost 4,400 for viOLet against the 2,700 of uThermal, showing you guys that he's been so effective in every single engagement he took since the beginning of this game. Once again, double drop, it's gonna hit the 4th. There is no vision whatsoever. That's something we don't talk about that much, but when you are that pressured as Zerg, you never have time to spread your overloads, right?
No creep, the creep's been pushed back, everything. He's just shutting his corner, and the 4th hatchery goes down, another drop on the south side, and uThermal feels so good right now. He is in the driver's seat, and when you're able to just bully a Zerg around like this isn't even the main form, the main focus. uThermal's like, oh, bonus damage? Cool. He's actually aiming towards a timing attack later on, but every little bit of damage he gets is a freebie, and he's just going to keep on doing this as long as he can knock viOLet back.
Yeah, still killing some drones on the 3rd. Got a Ravager in the main. He's going to drop again on the 4th. Going to get the cancel or probably destroy it if viOLet is not fast enough, and that's what he was on this time. I don't know. I don't know what viOLet can do. I don't think he can do
so
anything.
few units right now. You're absolutely right, Funker. It's not like his multitasking is like falling apart necessarily. He just doesn't have enough units to be everywhere at once, and any slight error, any slight hesitance from viOLet is punished.
I love the view. I see a Terran player just multitasking for 10 minutes, and then you look back at your main where all your rally points are. You're like, oh, actually, I do have a lot of units. Let's go. He can even F2 this game.
And,
F2, A-click. Let's just finish this.
The medevac retention has been fantastic this game. He's going to be able to lift up all of those tanks to safety if need be. Oh, going to lose 1 to corrosive bile. Actually, a few medevacs copying corrosive bile as well. Yeah. You got to move those tanks forward. uThermal looks like he's going to do it. Of course, this push is very, very frightening. If uThermal can just break down those rocks, like if this 3rd goes down, that's where it is completely over for viOLet. viOLet's got to try and buy time with these Ravagers. Nice corrosive biles to zone, but good pickups from uThermal. He redrops the tanks. viOLet engaging in the choke point. No! Great corrosive biles do snipe down a few siege tanks, but the bio is just diving on top of the Ravagers. There's just not enough meat in front, and these big fiery sacks of Zerg are just getting torn apart by the weapons of Terran. The siege tanks starting to move forward. The well-upgraded 2-2 bio crashing through.
GG! uThermal ties it up 1-1 after a pretty much flawless game, I don't think there is anything to be said about viOLet's performance in this game. He scouted, which was, I guess, the first good decision that he made in this game. Only 30 seconds in, I'm going to scout him. I'm going to drone scout him, know what he's going to go for. But after that, I don't think he's that used to it, or maybe the execution of uThermal was even better than what he anticipated. But in this game, that opening just made everything for him, even though he got scouted really early. So that's something that should be a little bit frustrating for viOLet.
This is one of those situations where, as viOLet, you've spotted this strategy in the previous sets. You've studied it, you've decided what your response is, you've scouted it out very early, you've responded the way you want to, and you've still ended up behind. And that is one of the worst things to feel as a professional player. You realize that your understanding or your execution was way off in that game, and you've kind of, I really think, maybe go back to the drawing board and find something different, because right now, uThermal seems confident. He seems very comfortable against those Ravager defenses. You know, I feel like the Zerg players just aren't quite getting enough drones up early enough. Maybe Queens is the answer. Maybe these maps, there's just so much area to jump in with the Reapers, right? Like, that's something which is new to this map pool. It used to only be Frozen Temple. Now we've got Apotheosis. We've got Galactic Process. And with Apotheosis and Frozen Temple both coming up later in this map pool, you've got to be freaking out a little bit as Violet and thinking like, wait,
That build can happen again.
He almost knows it's going to happen. I mean, uThermal just keeps using it, right? You've got to figure something out to deal with that. So the pressure's on here for Violet. Even though the scoreline is 1-1, the next map is going to be Apotheosis. And I think there's a very good chance we see a very similar strategy.
All right, we'll see about that. Third game is about to start. Apotheosis will be the place to fight. And we'll see if we witness a similar build in the bottom right, representing Netherlands as well as AT Gaming, it is uThermal.
Known by Mary's Thermal, as by his fans. You know, they love watching him stim his Marines around and microing them like crazy. Meanwhile, up here in the top left-hand side, not all that many nicknames because everyone knows him by his identity. It is viOLet. A champion of days past, a guy who's just pulled in so many victories back in the day, and he's actually pretty high in these WCS rankings. If he does make it through to this grand final, then that's going to be a huge boost to his chances making that top 8 for BlizzCon.
For sure. Gonna go for a drone scout once again. I'm gonna try like a different angle, I would say, just to check out for possible proxies. That's not what we're gonna see in this game, but we still could see that triple racks build. But as we can see right now, the mineral just were above 150 and he's still not going for it. So I'm guessing we're gonna see a normal opening from uThermal, which means that drone scout was pretty much worthless in this case. Not gonna give him a heads up in terms of aggression or of any kind, because it's just gonna go for a Reaper expand, just a classic opening from Terran. And I hope just he has maybe a little twist to his strategy. Probably gonna go for a double drop again, but his execution and his decision making has to be a little bit better than what he showed on Frost earlier.
Yeah, that drone took a good little nibble there, and the Overlords working their way across this map so slowly. It's such a big map, it takes a long time for Zerg to get those Overlords in position. No doubt we're going to be seeing that front one kind of beelining to some of the high ground outside uThermal's base, but for the moment, everything's looking quite typical for Violet, quite standard. And hey, if it's a map where it's just very hard for the Terran player to push across on, this is it. It's a very long rush distance. And unlike Frost, where there's a huge, wide area across the map, it's quite narrow, which means it's much easier to spot the drops coming. And because it's so long, you get a lot of time to respond. So I think we're definitely going to see a battle for map control and vision between the players. Creep spread also going to be very important. And I'm very curious to see which direction does Violet expand in. Does he try to go for the gold base with the very exposed mineral line, or does he expand just along the top side of the map and then go down in the much more conservative style?
Yeah, I would probably tend to say conservative style on this one, considering how hard it is to defend that, that triangle of drops when you take the gold. But we'll see. Maybe Violet just goes YOLO and takes it anyways. That's Starport getting in really, really quick from uThermal, and I love the Hellion, the Hellion choice on this one. It's such a huge map. There is not that many ramps to defend your natural or even your third. So Hellions are going to be really, really potent in this game. And he also took a really early second gas, uThermal that is. So I'm just wondering what he's going to do with it. Is he going to go for Banshees? Is he going to go dry? He's going to go for Banshees, I think.
Cloak Banshees has been really popular on this map recently. We saw Marine Lord kind of pull out some crazy mass air stuff. The Reaper does go down, does kind of scout. The gas is still being mined here. Doesn't see too much else. And Violet now going for that third base. Not rushing it out by any means, but I mean, Cloak Banshees, they're getting more and more popular recently. It's kind of funny. Everyone's wakey, man.
Wakey,
There's some
buddy.
amazing StarCraft happening right now.
You're on camera, bro. That's not good.
Like,
yesterday we showed a guy that was so happy about the game, and now today, a guy that is sleeping, I don't understand. Okay,
that's
Haas is not playing, but still, that's some pretty high-level ZVT that you can see right now. 4 Hellions making their way to the second base, and actually the Queens are out of position. Can he get it in time?
Nice
No.
wall off.
Perfect block by viOLet.
Very good defense. Of course, these Hellions staying alive maintains a lot of pressure Interestingly, this is not a crazy mass Hellion Banshee play. Just going to be going to a safety siege tank behind this and a third command center. So it is going to be a macro transition for uThermal. Just wants to maintain pressure with the Hellions, and through the combination of them and the Banshees hitting multiple locations, he's going to be aiming to do some damage. But viOLet right now has no idea this is happening. The Banshee is working its way across the map. Spore crawlers haven't even started, and that cloak is getting dangerously close to finishing. If you're hit by a surprise Banshee, no spore started, no lair finished, I tell you, you're going to take a huge amount of damage.
You're
And
gonna have a
viOLet,
bad time.
he doesn't have a big economy. He's only at 40 drones. He's putting lots of roaches and zerglings. Like, he's been very blind throughout this series, and only now does he spot this Banshee. His lairs just started. Spores still haven't begun. There we go. He's got about 30 seconds to do as much damage as he can with this Banshee, and viOLet forced to evacuate the base immediately. Already several drones going down, and it looks like he feels desperate. He's going across the map with his roachling, doing that safety siege tank at home. I think uThermal's going to be very well prepared for that.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever probably for uThermal on this one. The Banshee still doing damage. The Spore just got out. This instant, that Banshee, is it still getting microed? For sure, that's uThermal. He never lets it die for free. 3 aliens on the other side, making a little bit of damage, actually killing a lot of Zerglings, which is also a pretty good start. Where are the tanks? They are here, no problem. Maybe this wall is a little bit...
Nice-ling elevator in the back at the same time, but the roachling is completely deflected. The only real opportunity for damage here is that roachling elevator. Stim, nowhere near finish right now, hasn't even begun. 1-1 is on the way. There's only a few Marines as mobile defense here, but Hellions diving in on that third base, gonna grab a few more drone kills here for uThermal. Meanwhile, the Zerglings dart on into the main base, and lots of SCVs going down.
Yeah, lots of SCVs. Ooh, those tanks actually doing a little bit of friendly fire to those one that Banshee. No, of course, never gonna get hit by corrosive bile. So defensively speaking, Banshee is so good against roaches and ravagers, especially on such a big map. Those 3 aliens didn't get that many drones, but still forced a little bit more Zerglings, made the Queens move away, and those Banshees getting some free damage in the middle of the map. But he needs to start the Stim at some point. Did he forget it or what?
Yeah, he's forgotten Stim for the moment. He does have that tackle up on that barracks, but he's been very pressed with his multitasking. 1-1 halfway done already, but there are still these 2 Banshees on the map. This is still a threat. Keep in mind, there's no Spire, there's no Hydroden, there's only a couple Queens out and a couple Spore Crawlers. There's no amazing, just shutdown for the Zerg to shut down the Banshees here. So viOLet's going to have an annoying time with these Banshees clearing up creep. Does come out with his Queens and an Overseer now, almost snipes those off. And at the same time, he's just constantly preparing these Overlord drops in the back. But I think uThermal, he's going to send down a depot. He's going to see it.
Yeah, no way he's getting dropped too many times by that Overlord. There's not even the Overlord speed, so it's just like the slowest drop that you could ever think of. The 1-1 is gonna be finished before Steam starts. He needs to remember it. Okay, he did it, because that would be such a sad way to go, like just forgetting about Steam. He's gonna go for drop anyways. It's not like Marines can't do anything without Steam, but still, it's not gonna be as potent as it could have been. On the right side, I think we can see the Hellions in the top right.
No, there's the 2 Banshees coming up there, and we've also got 2 drops working down the left-hand side. So uThermal sticking to this multi-prong, which has been getting him so many gains throughout this series. Even 2 Liberators working up behind that. Very cute attack here, and there we go. Cloak snipes down the Queen. Goodbye anti-air there for viOLet. His Spore's almost finished, but he's already losing drones. This is something he can't afford right now. That drop's unloaded on the left-hand side, and here we go. Queen is finally going to blast down one of those Banshees, but the double Liberator's moving into position on the right-hand side. This drop just threatening on the left at the same time. uThermal dancing around viOLet, pushing his map control back into a corner and just being so annoying.
Okay, for now, those Liberators don't really pressure anything, but he needs to relocate them a little bit at some point. Yeah, okay, now the Spore is in, so he's gonna be able to move a little bit further. Which base is he gonna try to siege? Nah, that's not gonna work for uThermal. Just throwing away a little bit of Liberators, but for some reason, the bind not connecting.
Bit of a miss there from viOLet. The Banshee with 5 hit points snipes down that anti-air. I mean, so many Queens have gone down. There's only 1 Queen remaining, and even if he defends, he shuts down the Banshee, but it's a little bit too little too late. Yeah, you're on 3 bases saturated, but where are your upgrades? Your +1, +2s only just starting, whereas the 2-2's already halfway done for uThermal. uThermal has got all the tech. He's got that tank count building up, 4 tanks at home. He's got Marauders in the mix. He's got Stim on the way. Combat Shields is already finished, and uThermal uThermal. He's just pushed the creep back. viOLet's stuck in that corner of the map. He's unable to get out there. He's unable to spot what's coming. And uThermal just feels very comfortable.
No creep, no vision whatsoever for viOLet, and at the same time uThermal just pumping out units ever since like he secured that gold, going for the fungal, pathogen glands upgrade, but I'm not sure it's gonna help him because in about 30-40 seconds there's gonna be a huge push with bio and tanks coming up with the 2-2 upgrade, and it's gonna be so hard to defend, especially around that 4th location. Right now that double drop dealing a lot of damage, getting so many lings and roaches, and now we can go away because there is still no anti-air. Just uThermal playing an amazing game once again, and viOLet is so far away from any late game tech.
Yeah, viOLet's got to make it happen with Roach Ravager for now. He's very far away from that hive finishing up. These drops continuing to posture, and now it's time. We see the red worm snake its way across that map. That's the Terran army moving out, and that is a scary thing for any Zerg to behold. The drops continuing up in the top right as well as in the main base at the same time. viOLet does not have enough units in position in the main. He does manage to deflect this attack here finally, but the main base is exposed. Those drops going into the natural, the 3rd, and this huge army setting up in front of the 4th base. uThermal coming across with a devastating push right now. viOLet's actually doing a good job of handling this, but how is he going to deal with that army on the front?
Oh, this is the Shrek-toning. Those 4 tanks just dealing so much damage. No vision from viOLet on top of this ramp. Those double drop still need to be taken care of, and he had to use double fungal for this to happen, so he loses the 4th. He's throwing down the Ultralisk Cavern, but he's gonna be dead by that time. There's no way he's gonna have Ultralisk in this game.
viOLet hanging on for dear life right now, but with no creep spread over here. uThermal going to move into a very powerful position, and oh my gosh, 2 Infestors go down, only 1 Fungal gets off there. The low energy Infestor surviving, the Corrosive Vials being spammed out, but uThermal says, hell no, I'm just going to walk on top of your army with this bio. I got the better upgrades, I got the Medivacs healing, and the Roach Ravager is starting to fall apart.
uThermal playing an amazing game once again, just teaming and getting really up close to those Ravagers. GG as he takes game 3 and gets the advantage 2-1 against the Korean Zerg. Amazing play once again from uThermal, just on point with his multitasking, and even he forgot this team. That wasn't even a problem in this game. It was just all the everywhere at once, and those Banshees, man, they paid for themselves big time.
Wow, viOLet looking very hot there and flustered, dripping in sweat. You know, talking to the players, they've been saying that the booths are the one place where it's been, you know, nice and cool and well air-conditioned, so maybe he needs to crank that EC up a little bit. We'll have to wait and see, of course. And, you know, that's a tough game to lose. That's one of the games which feels very uncomfortable. You've got Hellions diving in on one side, Banshees from the other, and I really think, though, what uThermal just identified there, or at least what he showed us, was a big flaw in viOLet's play. Throughout the games, viOLet has not been scouting a lot. He hasn't been getting that Overlord speed, and he has not been building any safety spore crawlers. In the Frost game, he kind of blindly just built a spore at a timing. He had a few units, but even then he was very exposed to the double drop because he didn't know it was coming. In this game, once again, just not prepared for those Banshees. So I think viOLet maybe needs to do something to get a little bit more scouting information. You can't just do a drone scout. All that does is identify cheese, but the mid game, the early big waves of pressure, they're catching him off guard and giving a lot of tempo over to Schlappy.
So you are the Zerg expert here. Why wouldn't you go just for
Oh, that's all right. I think we are just going to dive to a very quick ad break, and we're going to be right back in just a moment to find out what happens in Game 4 of this series. Shanghai, China. And what an amazing tournament we've seen so far. We are, of course, midway through a fierce series at the moment, but what a good time we've been having here.
Yes.
A little bit of sweat going on, a bit of a sauna. It's been nice and sweaty outside, but we've been loving it. The fans have been loving it. And there has actually been some great crowd support for a lot of the players, not just the Chinese players down here.
I think uThermal is actually getting a little bit of the the hype of the crowd. He says himself that he loves China, and I hope that China loves him back.
I think the cat on that guy's head definitely is cheering for uThermal. Who doesn't like seeing Space Marines with guns running around and shooting stuff? I'll tell you who, this guy over here, the guy who unfortunately is down 1-2, and we're going to be going into that map number 4 in just a moment, of course, and seeing if the Zerg can claw it back.
I'll ask you again about that question I wanted to ask you a little bit before, but that's okay. We'll do the introduction before, and especially considering we are on a frozen temple, maybe we should, keep a little bit of time available because it could go really, really fast.
Absolutely. Well, spawning down here in the bottom right-hand side of Frozen Temple, it is the Dutch Terran, uThermal.
One game away from advancing to the finals.
What a surprise as well. It's awesome to see Mark doing so well.
It's just great. And in top left, he needs to come back. He is down 1-2 for Korea, and envious, it is viOLet.
Showing a huge turnaround in his results this year and really showing us a form in his previous series that we haven't seen from him in a while, but uThermal in those last 2 games has just gotten the better of him. He's kind of been running circles around him. The task for viOLet here is to get some of that map control back, to scout a little bit better, maybe just get some sort of momentum going. And interestingly, we were talking about this map funker, about the threat of 3x Reaper and how do you deal with it when you've struggled so much. But viOLet drone scouts, and he actually sees, hey, this is a completely normal opening. This is not a crazy 3x Reaper. And uThermal just looking very confident to play a more standard game.
And I guess he has to. Even though he was scouted earlier with the triple rack strategy and won anyways, I think just showing that you have the opportunity to go for a lot of different builds is still really, really important in that game. But what I wanted to ask you, now that we have a little bit of time, why wouldn't you go for the overload speed? You're getting owned by strategy that you didn't see come. I know this is expensive to go for. I think we actually talked about that earlier. But why wouldn't you go for it against
there's lots of options available. viOLet was just playing greedy that game. Sometimes you make a tactical decision. You say, I'm going to cut a corner because I studied my opponent. I don't think he's going to take advantage of me. Likewise, it's not just overlord speed that's the only answer. You can put down a couple of safety spore crawlers as well, and that costs a very similar, if not even less of an investment, because you can put them down later than the overlord speed. There's a few options that are available to viOLet there. Didn't choose them. He basically just said, nah, I think I can get away with this, and he's being punished for it. So this game, he's going to have to choose more wisely, or Mark is going to run away with it.
And actually, I think uThermal is going for the same strategy again. The timing on the second gas is exactly the same as on Apotheosis, so probably some Hellion play into Banshee, and if once again he doesn't have anything prepared to defend against this, no spores, no lair, he's going to have a really, really bad time. Let's see what he goes for this time. Okay, the reactor is on for the barracks, so he's going to be able to produce a healthy amount of Marines. And that Reaper is still doing some damage. Gonna get 2
he's
lanes.
killed all the Zerglings.
He's
4
so
more
good with
Zerglings
it.
only just starting. This is great for uThermal. He sees everything. He feels confident. He feels calm. And viOLet's got to just be really annoyed. I know personally losing any Zerglings to a Reaper really annoys me. And when you lose all your Zerglings and you have to build another 6, that's 3 less drones that you would have wanted to have. The Queen's even spreading creep tumors in the main, and this Reaper continuing to run circles. This is such a psychological edge already building in this game.
Okay, can he save the Reaper? Probably not. No, he's gonna get taken out midair by those Zerglings. But once again, uThermal changing it up a little. Gonna go for a drop with Marines and Mines and maybe transition into a tank push.
Yeah, so good for this map, right? You can abuse the rocks on the third base. If there's one, this was like the standard build on every map for a while, but
it's gonna get scouted.
Looks like viOLet finally coming out with the scout, seeing the starport with no add-on. He'll know he doesn't need to build spores in every base. He can put down 1 or 2 to help, obviously shut down the Widow Mines. But he doesn't have to be worried about any crazy frontal push. He just needs to have units ready for the initial drop pressure.
Is building a second one, don't you think it's a little bit weird? A second spore, I mean.
It's slightly early, but you do want to have that ready so the Widowmine doesn't get out of control.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, better safe than sorry. The creep is starting to work its way out. viOLet just going up to a grand total of 12 Zerglings, and that's very minimalistic. You know, just trying to defend with very few units. It's all going to be about making sure his queens are in position, and he doesn't just kind of get his Zerglings blown up by that Widowmine.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that first connection that can make a whole lot of difference. Right now, those queens really well placed to defend that drop, so that Medivac already taking some serious damage, and it's going to try to drop in the main, but he needs that first Widowmine connection. He's going to drop it down right there when there is no detection, and that mine is connecting with an overload. Come on, what are you doing, mine? Are you drunk?
Now, there's something really clever. Check it out where the Medivac just flew back to in the top right. We've got 2 SCVs just down to the right of there. And guess what he's going to be building? Bunkers!
Oh, that is so sick.
This is a uThermal special. Very few players. Well, there's all the Overlord spots it just barely. viOLet does he have the units to shut this down? Because he's got to get over there. Siege tanks are working their way across the map now. He's got the first tank back on the way. More Medivacs and more tanks making their way. And he manages to shut it down.
Okay, he's not going to lose the Medivac, which would have been the worst in that situation. That tank's going to have a really decent connection with those Zerglings. But you know what? I'm pretty sure that the Widowmine hitting the Overlord actually pushed him away a little bit on the right.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that he had the vision on that bunker and supply depot. That is so sick what has happened on this one.
The Widowmine effect. It's, you know, it's... if
kill
one
it
Widowmine shoots an Overlord on one side of Frozen Temple, a bunker rush doesn't work on the other side of your third base. Right now, uThermal and his harass has been stopped in its tracks. Like, it's really not working out, and it's not like he's dead or anything, but he wanted to get a bit more done with this pressure, because now viOLet finally finding the freedom in this macro game that he's been looking for so long. He's up 57 drones versus 43. He's got 1-1 upgrades almost finished lair, and interestingly, a Baneling nest and a fast fourth base.
Yeah.
Mutiling Bane, maybe?
Yes, I would like to see that very much. That tank in the top still trying to get a little bit of damage done. Probably going to get some creep tumors. Only 2 also. Okay, it's going to be able to save the tank. That would have been terrible. But yeah, you mentioned it. Baneling nest, melee upgrade. Is he going to go for a lot of Mutiling Bane, or is he going to just rush for Ultralisk?
The problem here for uThermal as well is he has no idea this is happening, because he's being defended by just a few queens on Zerglings. He doesn't realize that the Roaches have actually been completely skipped this game. As a result, he's still building siege tanks, and he does not want that. He wants to be building Widow Mines. Widow Mines are what you need against these Banelings. The tanks can kind of work out okay, but they just don't quite pack the same oomph as double Widow Mine production out of that factory.
Exactly. Gonna try to push on that fourth base, but it's gonna be a really hard task ahead of him. Okay, this team is not ready yet, and those 2 tanks, the target fire was decent from the Terran player, but he's losing a lot of units, and on the other side, he busts down the wall, and he's getting a lot of SCVs. viOLet
shutting down the attack and diving into the natural and killing the SCVs at the same time. This is a disaster for uThermal. He's trying to get his wall back up, but so many more Zerglings come in. Siege tank is going to do just as much friendly fire as it is to the Zerg player, and right now uThermal is taking crazy amounts of damage. viOLet here coming back out and just working up a storm in game number 4, and he is now in an infinitely great position, killing 16 extra workers there, up to 70 workers versus 39, 2-2 upgrades, so far ahead, and viOLet's got to be smiling to himself. He's finally getting into that smooth macro game that he wanted.
Even going for the triple overdrop, so a lot of possibilities to harass a little bit more and maybe put the economy of uThermal even worse than it was a few seconds ago. Going for the speed Baneling in the production tab right now. 34 more Zerglings and not even rushing for Hive. I think it's just going to play a lot of Zerglings and Banelings, which is a kind of explosive composition, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Just above the cliff in the third base, we see a Widowmine. That Widowmine from earlier has finally decided to adjust its position, and it's still not in range.
No.
This is like the Trader mine. This is the Edward Snowden mine. Like, seriously, it just keeps running around right now. It's sitting in the enemy base, and it's not actually doing anything to help right now. It's going crazy. Things are just getting out of control right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but I think that Widowmine, really, it just hasn't done anything. It had a few opportunities to be distracting, but here comes the drop. uThermal going to try and find an edge.
There is even Banelings in these dropper loads that are making their way to the natural, so that could be even worse, because viOLet, not even can he just tie it up 2-2, but he can also like humiliate a little bit uThermal, even though I don't really like that term. Like, he's playing an amazing game. That counterattack was just so decisive.
Yeah.
He defended everything that uThermal tried to throw at him so easily, and now going for Baneling drops in ZVT, that should that should be terrible.
Yeah, here we go. The natural mineral line gets cleaned out. Zerglings dive into the third at the same time. The SCVs being forced to flee. 16 of them already falling, and viOLet doing more damage from an already monstrous position.
Oh, this is gonna be so bad. Oh my god, 30 SCVs just falling down right now. On the opposite side, he's getting 6 drones, but who cares?
That's gross, man.
Who cares? 66 workers to the 23 of uThermal. All that, that great wall that he tried to build on the third base is getting destroyed. Zerglings everywhere. He didn't even need to build any Mutalisk, any Ultralisk. Who needs them? Just pure Zerglings and Bane are gonna seal the deal right there. uThermal just falling down. GG. And we are tied up.
2-2. Yeah, man. Going to that final rubber match, and viOLet has just been on fire. He's actually really been turning it up, and we saw that game what happens if he's not caught off guard. He scouts with the Overlord, exactly what we were talking about. He lets them just kind of go in there, sees the Widowmine pressure, has the spores ready, the Queens and Zerglings in position. Unfortunately, the Trader Mine kind of shooting the Overlord rather than helping in the engagement. And that really did hurt for, for uThermal. Not getting anything done with the pressure, bringing up 2 SCVs and starting a bunker and having that cancelled. And that gave viOLet all the freedom he needed to do that style. Now, I'm not sure if you guys at home noticed, one more point about viOLet's style. He didn't take a gas in the main, didn't take the gases on the fourth. He was on an insane mineral income. So his whole game plan was, I'm going to swarm with mass Zerglings. I'm going to hit from every side. And that added to that great opening. I mean, it just ended up being like so one-sided, but it's such an explosive style, and I love to see that clever adjustment of the economy by viOLet to suit the map, to suit the style.
And in that way, like even his fourth base actually, worked as a macro hatch in a way, getting a lot of different Zerglings and everything. That was just great play from viOLet. And now we get a 5th game.
We are, but we are just going to go to a very quick break, guys. We will be right back to find out how this series finishes. We'll be right back.
And once again, at the moment I say we're
Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters. Of course, we are about to go into the rubber match of this TvZ semi-final. We are trying to find out who will be facing Neeb in the grand finals. He awaits for the winner of this match. It's been a bloody tight one. We've seen both players trading blows, and viOLet here has just managed to tie it up at 2 games apiece. And you can see how tense he is there. I mean, it's been a hard run for him. There's been, all the games he's lost really have been him just getting run around in circles. uThermal's been toying with him almost. So there's a lot of pressure going on to viOLet going into Game 5 here.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on him, but also the way he won Game 4 is actually something that should make him feel a little bit good about himself, He played something a little bit different and had a lot of success with it. Now we are opening on King Sejong Station, which is an amazing map for Terran. So viOLet's gonna have a hard time defeating this guy that you can see on your screen, uThermal, the Dutch Protoss, the Dutch Terran, sorry. But let's see about that when we actually enter the game.
In just
really
a moment.
looking forward for that.
Yeah, absolutely. A very close match so far. And both players here really fighting for a very rare opportunity to compete in that finals. And we are going to dive into game here, of course, spying on our red Terran player down here in the bottom right-hand side of King Sejong Station. Hailing from the Netherlands, it is uThermal.
And in the top left, in the blue, representing Envy Us, he wants his second IEM title, it is viOLet.
And going for that drone scout once again in this game, viOLet really playing very safe, very paranoid about the rushes which uThermal has shown against his previous opponents, but uThermal changing up his style and playing a lot more standard, only throwing out that one 3-Rax Reaper. It did meet with astounding success, but after this, kind of slowing it down a little bit and starting to play a much more defensive style, playing just with some, you know, harassment rather than the all-in or very heavy aggression.
What do you think about that build? That used to be all the rage for a couple of weeks, I would say, and it was also really popular on this map, which was the really early reactor on the racks, but also factory to give it to the starport, and you go for that double 16 marine drop without the steam.
That was one of my favorite builds.
It was so cool.
I haven't seen it since the Queen buff and the Spore buff. Obviously, they can reposition faster because a big part of that build was you're hitting with these medevacs really fast, and you're able to kind of maintain presence with them. They just can't quite do the same, because remember, those Marines don't have stim, and the Queens can just shoot the medevacs down. And it really relied on a Liberator follow-up, which unfortunately with those spores moving so quickly just isn't quite as powerful. But it looks like uThermal instead going for that more mid-ranged 2-Rax, going to be into the medevac timing. The same one he showed on Frost, and it worked out pretty well for him there. He actually got in a very good position that game, even though he did end up losing it later on.
Yeah, it wasn't because of the build in any way that he was that he lost this game, uThermal. So going for that build again, which is, in my opinion, when the build that I mentioned earlier was still popular, you could still see both of those builds being used. The 16 Marine drop with the steam, or the earlier one without the steam. So he's gonna go for this one, and I have nothing to say about it. I think it's a really great idea, and it also fits uThermal style so well that obviously there is nothing to be said against it.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, viOLet going into this series at the end of his round of 8 match said, you know, he's quite cheesy, but so am I. We're both very aggressive players, so it's going to be a lot about the mind games. And then throughout this series, we've seen a lot of standard play from both players. You know, neither player actually confident going in with that kind of crazy aggression against another player who's very unpredictable. So it's kind of funny to see both players take a step back and play a little bit more standard through to that mid game.
We're gonna see the reactor getting added on to that factory fairly soon to get that double medevac production going. Still no third is gonna go with the drone soon enough because the speed is about to kick in. Yeah, we can see it now. The drone getting his way through that third base, gonna drop that hatchery, and I'm just looking forward what viOLet's gonna do, because I guess his style with a lot of Zerglings that he used to play a little bit earlier could still be totally potent on King Sejong Station.
You know, he's playing very blind once again. viOLet not opting to scout. He's just got an Overlord spying on the natural, but uThermal diving to the main with a Reaper. Gonna get a very nice scout on. See the second gas. Oh, the tricky second gas that they got cancelled. You know, maybe viOLet playing a bit of mind games. He wasn't doing that for supply at all.
He saw the cancel, actually.
Yeah, he saw the cancel. So it was like, I feel like, because viOLet then just put down a second gas at his natural instead. And that's just one of those funny things where you're like just trying to confuse your opponent. But for now, it's just going to be a Zergling pressure. And, oh, the natural's actually not walled off. uThermal needs to wall this off before he moves out. Okay, the Zerglings are going to run into these Marines. viOLet, get out of there. Does lose a bunch of Zerglings for nothing, but a very good defense for uThermal so far. The medevacs are about to pop. They're about to dive across, but viOLet should have recognized what he's up against. He saw a crazy Marine count there. He's going to have to put down maybe some Spore Crawlers and build a lot of units to get on top of these Marines.
Oh, he actually switched his mind. We could see, like, for a couple of seconds, we could see the Roach Fire in the production tab, but he actually switched it up and built a Baneling Nest instead. But either way, this building is not going to be here on time for that double drop, so he's going to rely on the Queen and Zergling defense. So let's see where uThermal decides to go. Okay, he's going to stop at the edge of creep to try to get a really proper position on that third base. The steam just finished, and he's going to go for the fight right now. Those Queens, they are a little bit alone for now.
They're a bit exposed. He needs more Zerglings down here. And they are in production, but that hatchery's taking a lot of damage. He's got to engage. There we go. Pretty decent defense, but
look at
perfect stutter step.
Oh my god, that kiting from uThermal was so perfect. 5 points here, but knowing energy left. So right now getting 2 queens and a lot of Zerglings.
Oh
You
my
can't defend
god,
that
it's
by
all going
yourself.
down.
Oh my god.
That's
This is so terrible.
much damage, and if these Marines, I mean, he can still evacuate 8 of these Marines as long there's no Queens to snipe down this medevac anymore. More and more
He's gonna get the
Zerglings
third.
going down, and oh wow, uThermal with that fantastic stutter step micro before. He's just tearing viOLet apart, taking down the third base.
He
Wow.
lost 7 Marines, 1 medevac, and 1 Reaper. 4, I don't even know how much queens. I would say 5 queens and 44 Zerglings. Right now, the finals for uThermal. It's just there. He can seize it. He took such a huge advantage right there. Let's see if he can handle the pressure.
Yeah, you know, viOLet panicked a little bit. He let his Zerglings get way too far in front of his Queens. He had to pull those back, but overextending just for a moment in the face of Stim Marines gets slapped down. You do not have time to make a mistake like that at this level. uThermal punished him hard for it. Just snapped those Zerglings, snapped the Queens with all of his Marines just barely alive, and now he's in the driver's seat. His 3rd command center is starting. He's got 3 tank evacs, and oh my god, okay, the back rocks are going to be down just barely in time. He's starting to push towards the base here of viOLet, but viOLet, I mean, he's on 2 base production. He doesn't have a lot of lava, and when you're going Ling Bane, it's going to be so hard to spend all of your money.
And as you can see, there is no counterattack getting set up or anything. He's just going to be defending with Lings and Banes without the Stim. Okay, there's going to be a little bit of creep, but 3 tank evacs just going ham.
And
just
slow
starting
Banelings!
Banes.
Banelings are not good against this. These siege tanks are going to tear them apart.
Let's see the target fire.
The Queens come in. The siege tanks shooting the Queens. They need to focus the Banelings. Decent focus fire, but the Zerglings actually get on top. A lot of tanks go down, and finally a tank blast just tears the Banelings apart. Still 1 tank standing, still all the Marines standing, and this is a fantastic trade for uThermal.
uThermal, last time he went to the semifinals, but this time it's looking like he's gonna have his major finals here at the IEM Shanghai. Such a great performance by him, setting up those Marines just behind the mineral line. You mentioned the 2 base economy. It's just a 1 base economy now. No drones on that 2nd base. Those 4 queens, they can't reach anything,
This
so
is a
they would get
desperate
shelled.
position. This is looking very hard for viOLet right now. He's going to come in with 1 last ditch effort to dislodge this, but the siege tank getting massive damage on these Zerglings as they clump up there. Finally, viOLet holds the attack, but this is only a fraction of uThermal's army. Back at home, uThermal's got his 3rd landed. He's morphing that into an orbital. His 1-1 upgrades are almost finished. He's got a new army of bio tank and even a Liberator all coming on out. Meanwhile, viOLet, he's coming across the map with a Zergling counter. He wants to find some damage, but I think there's just a little bit too much Terran here.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah, those Zerglings getting destroyed by this tank. Just perfectly placed between the 2nd and 3rd base. On that 3rd base, actually, a little bit of more Zerglings trying to get some damage done. But not a single SCV has died, and he gave away all his Zerglings. But going back to a little bit before, when he had the opportunity to probably finish the game, uThermal, you can probably tell that he's a little bit, panicked a little bit, because his target fire on the Banelings against slow Bane, that's something he can do for breakfast, but he missed it a couple of times, and that's the reason viOLet is still in this game. Let's see if he can make a little bit of more pressure on that 4th base. He's going to go with the Liberator on the 3rd one while double dropping on the left side.
And this is just great play from uThermal. Unfortunately, there's just not enough creep spread here for viOLet. viOLet's trying to push him back, but now the Liberator, a new Liberator on that 3rd base, doing even more damage, and uThermal is showing the sort of pristine play, which really is deserving of the finals. He's showing that he earns that spot, and he is only 1 game away. He's potentially only seconds away. Going to be dropping the 4th. That Liberator is still running around in the top left of the map, I believe, and he's got those units on the left-hand side pushing back the creep as well.
Perfect positioning on that Marauder. This is just beautiful. Those Zerglings, they can't reach any of those Marines, and still no Baneling speed. Right now, uThermal can finish the game. Will he be able to do it? Amazing pre-spread on this one. This looks like a hold from viOLet's standpoint, but that was so not cost effective for him.
Those Banelings don't come back to life, man.
Yeah,
Every Baneling used on a single Marine or just a Marine or a Marauder, that's not enough damage. right now, viOLet needs amazing trades, and you cannot get that with just slow banelings and a handful of Zerglings against this well-upgraded, mobile Terran force. The economy is still down for viOLet at 48 drones versus 62 SCVs. His upgrades are behind, and uThermal, he's keeping up the pressure fantastically while macroing up at home. A nice Zergling counter starting to work its way in, and viOLet going to snap a drop as well, starting to get a little bit of damage here. The Zergling counter going in, and uThermal's rallying across the map a little bit cavalier, but he does manage to pull the SCVs. His rally dealing with it while he pushes in at the front side, and it's time. The siege tanks. Oh, they don't manage to blast the banelings, but the banelings just can't kill them cost efficiently enough. Most of the Terran units are still standing, and every trade that goes by is a good move for uThermal.
Okay, he needs to boost those medivacs away because those 3 queens, they're here for blood. They want to take out all those medivacs because those Zerglings, they can't reach Marines and Marauders in the sky. Once again, just gathering all his units and gonna try for a drop on the right side, probably thinking that a 4th base is still being produced on the top right, but he actually switched it up and he's going for the left side. Yeah, uThermal just thinking about it and going for it, confirming that the 4th base is here. Those Zerglings already in place. He needs to gather a little bit more army and he can go for a frontal push to maybe qualify for the finals. Right now, he's got a 2-2 advantage against the 1-1 of viOLet.
He's moving in with the double drop in the main, the drop at the 3rd. viOLet desperately trying to run in with these Zerglings, and they are going to do a little bit of damage, but is it going to be enough? I mean, right now, uThermal has killed the 4th. He's tearing apart the main, and his reinforcements come in to clean up the counterattack on his 3rd. Doesn't lose more than a single SCV. Fantastic control from uThermal, and viOLet can't get everywhere at once.
uThermal in the finals from last-minute replacement to a winning contender. That's so amazing. What a great game and what a great series. viOLet, being, the charming man that he is, goes out, shakes his hand. What a great series.
A fantastic performance for viOLet, but this is really just amazing for uThermal. At this moment, this is his first time in a big finals like this, and it's a complete surprise. He replaced another player at the last minute. He kind of hopped on a flight, just came to China and was like, let's play some games. And he's found himself in that finals, and he's done it in a fantastic way. He's trailblazed his way through these TvZs, and he's really just shown a very personal style. He's done it in his own way.
Oh yeah, no, just an amazing performance right there. We could see him just coming back from the stage with a big old smile on his face. Even Roddy is obviously really happy about his Dutch friend making it to the finals. But what a great story for this one. He wasn't supposed to be there, and right now he's just facing a possibility to have his first title, his first victory.
It's such a beautiful story, and it's something I can't wait to see play out later on. Of course, we're going to hear from the man from himself on the couch with Lycan in just a minute. Stay with us. We'll be right back.